Jay Hooks is a Texas blues rock guitarist, singer, and songwriter from Houston. With a career spanning since the late 1980s, he's known for his searing guitar tone, raw vocals, and high-energy performances that blend gritty Texas blues with rock swagger. Influenced by legends like Stevie Ray Vaughan, he's released several albums, including the recent Tequila and Bullets, and has toured across the U.S. and Europe. Today, the Trout sits down with this Houston firebrand to talk music, life on the road, and what keeps the blues burning. Now here's the Trout with Jay. Enjoy.
You ever wondered what being truly rich really means? It's not just about money. It's the moments with people you love, chasing what lights you up, and knowing you're on the right path. At Edward Jones, their financial advisors take the time to understand what matters most to you. David Smith with Edward Jones, who's been supporting the show for years, is ready to help. Whether you're in Texas, California, Florida, or anywhere in the continental United States, David can provide his expertise to guide you. With his personalized training plan and steady guidance, David can help turn those dreams into reality. Because when your financial support the life you want to live, that's when you're truly rich. So, let's find you rich. Call David Smith today at 469-372-1587. That's 469-372-1587. David Smith with Edward Jones. Give him a call today. Let's find you rich. When did you pick up your first guitar? How old were you?
I was 10, and my mom had a guitar and was going to take guitar lessons, and I think she took one and put it in the attic. Well, I was a little kid, but about 8, 9 years old, they let you take band, like in the 5th grade. I can't remember, 5th grade or something.
I think it was it was the 5th grade.
Yeah, I started with a trumpet, and they taught me to read music. I can read music now if I write all the notes in with a pencil. I can't even read, and I could sight read. I mean, I was really good at it then, but anyway, I taught myself out of a Mel Bay book. I don't know if you remember those, but when we were
That's
young,
what I learned out of. Oh, yeah.
I learned, I taught myself she'll be coming around the mountain, man. I remember it. And then, the guy next door taught me Sweet Home Alabama, and I played that for, a year or so, and then Stairway to Heaven. I played that for a couple. I mean, that was all I knew, but I played it all the time until I learned something else. But, of course, I started learning by ear, I see it now. I mean, you can learn anything off YouTube, man. I've been having a blast, all the stuff some of the things, I go back and look, and some of the guys, they'll do it one way or another. I'll look at all of it, and I'm like, okay, well, here's the notes I'm playing wrong, and I'm going to steal that, So anyway, but I learned everything by ear. That's how we all learn. The guys like, our age, that's how we learned, and anyway, and the music, I don't know. I was like, I think I was 13 or 14 when MTV came out. I hated it. I watched it every day because I love music, but I hated it because I like Leonard Skinner. I like, they would play Devil Went Down to Georgia every once in a while. I like that. I like all the country and blues and, I always joke around that I'm like, well, I like all the rock and roll until 1980, and then I hate it all, but I'm kidding, but
it was pop oriented. So
it just, I was into Stevie Ray, man. When I heard Stevie Ray, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I want to be a blues guy. I was into Skinner and Molly Hatchet and the Southern rock. And when I heard Stevie Ray, I was like, oh man, I want to, I was already into Hendrix, but I couldn't even figure the Hendrix out, man. I didn't even have the ear for it. Well, I started learning that Stevie Ray, and he was so clean. Well, then the Hendrix started making sense. So then I started going back and learning, the Hendrix anyway. An older guy when I was a kid, and to make a short story long, but older guy told me, hey, I was totally crazy about Stevie Ray when that first record came out. And I was 13 or 14 when Texas Flood came out. And this guy told me, he goes, you go buy any Johnny Winters record and you'll quit yapping about that Stevie Ray. He was an old guy, and course, I went down and bought Second Winters by accident, and of course, it's one of my favorite records to this day. But
That's one of
and
my
then I went and
favorites.
bought I bought Still Alive and Well, and so I was totally hooked on Johnny Winters, And
Yeah.
anyway, so and I remember the first time somebody told me, "Hey, listen to this guy," and they played me Billy Gibbons, and it played ZZ Top for me. I'll never forget it. It was Tejas, and of course
Oh
that's
yeah,
my favorite ZZ Top record
that was
too.
their
So.
third album, I think.
Yeah, I
I
think
can't remember what it
so.
was.
Third, fourth record. It's in the six pack. I know that. So,
Yeah.
that's what I always listen to all the time. I never get tired of Billy Gibbons. Of course, the first six records. But
The funny thing
anyway,
about them is Billy's a couple years older than me. And I was talking to somebody the other day. I had these conversations, and I actually did a podcast on it not too long ago about are the artists getting so old because the ones we grew up. Billy's 76 now, I think. 75,
I knew he's in
76.
his 70s.
Eric Clapton just turned 81.
Oh, wow.
Jagger's 80 something. Keith is 80 something. And I was talking to somebody about it, and I said, why do you think they still do it? And they made a comment I was talking about Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. And the guy, he's a great musician over in the Netherlands. He said, can you imagine him sitting in front of TV and just doing nothing but watching TV? And I went, no. He said, that's why they keep doing it. Because what else are they going to do?
Yeah.
And you came along and you did some for several years, and then you took a break, a siesta, so to speak.
Well,
and then you kind of came back. I mean,
right. And here, I'll tell you what, it's totally different. I was traveling, and we were, going to Europe and doing all this stuff, and, I got to where I was drinking a lot, the story anyway. And, I thought I'm going to quit playing guitar and I'll quit drinking. Well, then it got worse. So yeah, I had to sort all that out. And, anyway, but it was a lot different then. This was probably 2005 or so, and I quit for a while, and and I sorted everything out, and I got to where, man, I don't know why I did. Now I'm questioning it all, but anyway, I started playing again, and man, everything's different. It's just the clubs are different, the crowds are different, the people are different.
yeah.
And man, there's all these cover bands now, which them guys are. I see some good cover bands, and they're playing all the stuff we like, the 70s, the Stones, the Skinnerd, they're doing all the cool stuff. I don't hear them doing 80s bands, not much. I hear them doing a lot of 70s.
That was a synthesizer
Fleetwood
age.
Mac and Eagles, and I see and they're good at it too, and anyway, and that's the stuff that I grew up listening to. I mean, when I really started playing guitar, the metal thing was happening. The 80s, man. Everybody, I was, I'm like, oh, blues is where it's at, and man, I think I learned a bunch of metal just so I could play with somebody, back then. And anyway,
Yeah.
But back in the 90s, man, we were playing everywhere, man, and all these clubs that were. I mean, and some of them just aren't there anymore. The way I mean, these places would be packed all the time, and sometimes now I'm like, man, does anybody even go out anymore?
Here's the thing. I think it's interesting to me because I've interviewed hundreds of people and watching them. Everybody tours. You know the business. You've been doing it a long time. You don't tour, you don't make any money. You got to sell merch. You got to do touring. Everybody brings that music, but you're not going to make any unless this year in the top 10% make a lot of money off streaming. And it was interesting. I was talking to your PR guy. He called me the other day, and we were talking about nobody drinks anymore. They're not buying, when you go to, they just want to go hear the music. I guess the Gen X people, I've heard this from more than one person, they're not drinkers. So that didn't have anything to do with music, but people want to go listen to the band and get a beer or whatever and hang out, especially at your local venues. But the other thing, when you started, when you referred to your first album, was it digital or was it analog back then?
We did all that stuff was on tape.
That's what I thought.
We did all that stuff to tape. Now, the last the third one I did. We did it. I did it in a guy's duplex in Austin, and we tracked everything and did it all in Pro Tools,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that was my first experience with that, and I don't know, that record was a little more produced. It was not. It was a good record, I thought, but it just we kind of like the raw sound, And when we made this record, we were like, man, let's make one like the first record.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make something raw. Let's go for that 80s ZZ Top kind of,
Yep.
whatever, like cheap sunglasses, the DeGuayo, where we were watching,
Yeah.
there's that Rock Palace from the 80s with ZZ Top, and I was watching that, and we were like, man, let's make a record like that. Look at these guys, Of course, it's great stuff. I mean, I love that stuff.
Well, they weren't running a bunch of stuff. They weren't running. They weren't trying to affect their tone with pedals. They just had an amp and put stuff. I mean, I don't even know. All the times I've seen Billy, I don't even know if I don't even know if he uses any pedals. He probably has something.
Somebody told me, because I saw him and the wah solo happened on Waiting on the Bus. I'm like, what happened? The guy said his tech does the wah wah. So Billy doesn't have any pedals in front of him. And so I'm like, well, hey, whatever works. But I'm the same way, man. I don't have a pedal board. I don't have any. I use a tuner, in front of me, and people ask me all the time, man, what do you use? I go, tuner. So that anyway.
What does that do? What kind of effect is that?
It doesn't help much. I bend it out of tune on every song I'm tuning, because I'm bending everything out of tune. But anyway,
here's the thing, though. People that I grew up with and you grew up with, Hendrix had a fuzz face and a wah-wah, and he used his amp for the power and all that stuff. But there wasn't any hiding behind pedals and effects. You couldn't hide it. Those old blues guys like Freddie King and all those guys, B.B. King, they were just straight into the amp. And so you couldn't, if you sucked at playing, you couldn't hide it behind, let's put a little delay and distortion on it and hide it.
You can't hide it anyway. I mean,
no, but you still, you know what I mean, because somebody like you that just goes up and plugs it in, and you get your tuner, and okay, I'm in tune, let's rock, let's go. And and that gives it, in my opinion, that sound that you grew up on and I listened to, the raw sound.
Right, man, a wah and a Marshall, and I mean, listen to Angus Young, man. Those AC/DC records are some of the greatest records. I mean, Highway to Hell. I remember I got that. My mom didn't like it. I was probably 12 years old or something. Anyway, but I mean, listen to the tone on those records. I mean, it's a Marshall Plexi on 10. I mean, there's no tube.
That's pretty much it.
There's no, there's nothing else, man. And what a tone both them Malcolm Young and Angus had, and anyway, that's the kind of thing I like. I mean, you look at Albert Collins and Freddie King, both played through a quad, wide open, a twin with 412s. I mean, come on, that's a little loud for me. I've got to where I really like that. I like playing loud, so I'd rather have a 40 watt amp. They're making these 30 watt, 15 watts. I don't think it's quite enough for me, but right around 30, about 40, 50 watts, I like it. And you can get it pretty loud where that amp will start breaking up a little bit, And,
I never forget, I was in Kansas. I lived in Kansas City for a long time, and I went to see Lonnie Mack. Lonnie paid like out of a twin, and he was on it was a small venue. And a friend of mine, he says, let's go watch Lonnie Mack. I said, fine. So he's up above. It's like ear level. He had that thing cranked up. It was piercing. And I remember the next day we came back to work. My friend and I worked together a couple of days later. And he says, I got ringing in my ears from that. I think I've lost some hearing. I said, oh, you have. You just don't know yet.
Yeah.
I said, and that was just a basic, I think he was playing out of a twin, but it was freaking loud. And there wasn't a lot back then, I was playing on a small venue. There wasn't a lot of reinforcement. Some of us coming out, but a lot of us right there. And I think the old purist, I remember Joe Bonamassa saying one time he played with Clapton, and he said he comes out, he's got a twin, a monster cable, and a Strat.
There you go.
And he sounds like Eric Clapton. And he
There
said,
you go.
I don't know all the stuff they turns to get the sound out of it, but he knows what he's doing. I want to ask you a question. You were talking about playing Firebird. Do you change the pickup setting, or do you leave it down in on the bridge setting, or do you move it around when you're playing?
I I do some funny things when I'm playing, and I'm not sure what I do sometimes, but I know I use the neck pickup to a certain extent, but I pretty much use the bridge on the Firebird all the time. Now
Hmm.
Strat, I use the neck more. If I'm
Yeah,
playing, I'll play the neck the most, and then when I want to get a good bite, like an Albert, if I hit an Albert Collins kind of lick or something, I'll throw
yeah.
it down on the bridge. But for the Gibsons, I figured out, I played Strats for a long time and I love them. And I think they're one of the greatest sounding guitar ever. But my Firebird, man, the tone on it, I love it. And a guy just built me a Telly and put me a Firebird pickup in the
Hmm.
treble. And I've been fooling around. I put a mini in the neck, but anyway, the pickup came out of one of my Firebirds. So, and this Telly just said, oh man, it still has a kind of piercing a little. It's not like as piercing as a Telly is with single coils, but it still has more bite than my Firebird. But it's got that Firebird pickup. Oh man, it sounds good on there. So
Do you?
anyway,
Well, and also the Telly it's lighter. It's got to be lighter than the Firebird, right?
yeah, I'm more comfortable with the Firebird, and I figured out I like Gibson guitars with Fender amps, and that's all I need
Mm.
is give me a Gibson, a mini I like mini humbuckers, and I like the Firebirds. Now, a full humbucker I can work with that too, but something about those minis and like the Les Paul Deluxes, I don't know, they
Hmm.
got a little more bite, man, and I like that, and that's right up my alley.
When I play, I leave it in the middle, both pickups, and then when I want to get more bite, I bring up the volume on the back, to give it some more treble, and then I might do some compression on it. But I never did. I could never get where I wanted to go. And then when I play a Strat, you're right. I mean, sometimes, and I know a lot of famous players, they leave it on the bridge pickup all the time. But when I'm recording, I don't. It gets a little thin for me. And I think that's what
Right.
Albert Collins, Albert, well, he played a Telly, didn't he? I think it was Albert played. Did he play a Telly? I think he did. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And who else is I thinking of? Oh, Buddy Guy. When you hear him play, it's pretty thin, but that's what he likes. But he
Right.
kind of grew up on that era. Did you, when you recorded this last album, you cut this last album, did you guys play a lot of live and just record it from live and do overdubs later?
That's what we did. We recorded everything live, and then we kind of went back, and if there was something we needed to fix, and pretty much the drums. Once the drums were there, I worked on the guitars a little bit, in some spots, and but for the most part, it was pretty much live. And uh, anyway, I had a buddy of mine, Jorge. He played rhythm guitar on it some. Uh, anyway, uh, and it kind of helped out. You know what I'm saying? To where we
Yeah,
kind of did it
yeah,
live, and that way I didn't track a bunch of rhythm guitar either.
yeah.
I
So
was
you
trying to
had
kind
him
of fill
playing
it
while
up
you're
a little
playing.
bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think too,
But you,
don't you? It's still, even when you're in a studio, playing live still makes a big difference. It's still something about that instead of like, okay, you lay this down, I lay down, and we'll just try to get the energy up as we keep laying tracks on it. And like you said, when you had Jorge doing the rhythm, you could do what you did on the regular, and then do what you got to do,
uh,
and then you get the raw sound. And I think that it has. I was just the title tune from your last album, the one you just released last year, Tequila and Bullets. And I was listening to that, and I thought, I've heard this tone before. I've heard this tone before. But that's what I liked about it,
it's
because
just
that.
that old Muddy Waters lick, anyway, I kind of turned it around a little bit, but
Well,
I've heard a
everybody
lot of
sound.
guys
Look,
do it.
bottom line is, unless you're somebody famous, iconic, and even they still licks. So when I saw a guitarist last year at this, she was playing, she got through, and she walked off stage, and I said, I noticed something, and she plays slide, and I said, that's a Johnny Winter lick. And she kind of
Yeah.
laughed, and she goes, yeah, that's Johnny Winter. I remember that sound. I said, but that's what happens to everybody. This point in the game playing guitars with decades of people playing them, you're obviously going to pick up something from somebody else. And I think people like you, though, Jay, is the fact that you can keep moving and doing what you're doing and still bringing that kind of music, which I think we need. You know?
I still, hey, I still listen to the same things I listened to when I learned how to play guitar.
Yep.
You know, I still listen to Tejas. I never get tired of Billy Gibbons. I never get tired of Jimi Hendrix. And the Stevie Ray and the Johnny Winters comes and goes. You know what I'm saying? I'll listen to it for a while, then I stop. But I always listen to Johnny Winters. I listen to Hendrix and Billy. I never get tired of them. I'll put the first, put Billy the first record on the
Right.
Rio Grande Mud.
I love that album.
Tres Hombres. That's one of my favorites too, of course. And
Yeah.
I never get tired of that stuff. I grew up, man. I listened to a lot of this. When I listened to classic rock, it was in the '80s, and they were playing '60s and '70s. And the guys were older than me that I ran around with.
Sure.
Liked all that stuff. People my age didn't like it. They wanted to go to the club. They wanted to hear, they wanted to go eat X and go to the club and dance all night, whatever. I'm like, man, that ain't my thing. I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
and the part of it is too. I mean, how many times have you watched Stevie Ray and Austin play Voodoo Child? I mean, he was one of the few people that can actually get close to the real thing. When he was alive, he got close. And the thing about Jimmy, he wasn't that loud. People thought he was extremely loud. I heard other bands that were louder than him. And I always thought, when I went to see him, I thought, oh my God, it's going to be really loud. And I was like, no, I've heard other bands after that were much louder than him. He just had the ability to control his Marshall feedback so much that was crazy. Almost like it was one person doing it. It's like you melted with the amp or something. It was weird. And for years, you try to sit down and figure, we were talking about earlier, sit down and try, what was he playing there? How is he doing that? The thing that I like about YouTube is if you watch people live, then you can say, oh, that's how he's doing it.
Exactly,
because you hear it and you go like, I think he's playing it. Oh, no, he's playing it down there. And then you're like, now I know how he does it. And so if you're trying to do something like that.
When I'm if I'm trying to figure out some Jimi Hendrix, man, I'll go pull up a Randy Hansen video too and watch that guy. You know what I mean? These guys got it figured out, and of course, man, watching Stevie Ray at the Elma Combo or something. I mean, I saw Stevie Ray 3 times, and I'll tell you what, I never seen anybody play guitar like that. And I seen Billy Gibbons when they kicked off I can't remember, the Afterburner tour.
Oh yeah, that was in the 80s.
They did a private show in Fitzgerald's here in Houston, and they gave out 300 tickets. Well, my buddy worked on his guitars at the guitar store. Short story long, he gave me a couple tickets. So I saw Billy with them, and they're doing just the old stuff, man. And there wasn't any backtrack. And I'll tell you what, Billy, he was good, man. But I don't know, man. Stevie Ray just had something that he just would rip your head off. And the only thing I ever figured was the only reason I think that's because I never got to see him. I wasn't old enough to see Hendrix, Well,
that's good. I can tell you that's good news and bad news. Because when you tell people you watch Hendrix, they go, Jesus, how old are you? Well, it was 1970. You can figure it out from there, probably. I don't think kids today, younger people, you mentioned it, I studied a lot of great musicians when I was growing up, not just rock musicians, classical musicians, people that I thought were fantastic. I just wanted to know about the history. And I follow somebody on X, and she talks about music all the time, and she was talking about this guitar had old wood in it. The real old, I forgot, they call the name. And I said, most people, young people, don't know what that means. Because the wood was 200 years old. They don't know what that means, nor do they care. And the other thing, too, that you said earlier that I see more and more is more and more people on tour like you go out and have their own guitars made. You said that you had this guy. Was this guy in Texas that made this this Tele
A
for
friend
you?
of mine, and he had built a Telly and gave it to me. I said, "Well, I want one with Firebird pickup," so he built me that. And I play that one. I use it recording sometimes. I like it, but and I think I'm gonna like if I gotta fly in, I'm gonna start carrying it because I was carrying my Firebird on the plane in a soft case and putting it in the overhead. And I think I'm gonna start carrying that Telly just because. Like I said, if I break that Firebird, I'm gonna be real upset.
Oh
I
yeah.
think I think I could replace it, but
It's
I
never going to be the
always go back
same.
to that guitar. There's no other. The frets are wore out. The pickup, the switch it makes noise. I got a brand new one with that. It's not brand new, but it never been played, and I
Right.
never touch it.
Right.
I never touch. I play it when I break a string. So that tells you, how many guitars I need. Two. When if I break a string, I need another one. But anyway, no, I do like the tellies, and I was getting on a big telly kick here for a while, and man, I'm back on the Firebirds already. But I do like that guitar a lot, and it does have a nice tone to it. And
Well, this
anyway,
this is an '87 behind me. That's my favorite guitar, that Les
okay.
Paul. And people picked it up. They go, "Can I play it?" And they go, "Oh my God, this is so good." And I said, "Yeah, but the thing because it's you talk about your guitar. That's the way I feel about that '87. There's every one of them has something unique about them, even though they're mass produced to a certain degree. Necks are a little different on them. Something's a little bit different on them, and that neck on that is just perfect for me. And I've always been I'm a sustained guy, so I want to be able to hit a note and bend it up and hold it for about 2 minutes. So you got
Yeah,
that 15
exactly.
pounds of wood hanging on you. That makes a difference. And
I
and
think
so
so.
people, and that's what I'm sure that's what your Firebird is to you. It's like a second hand or third hand to you because it's
Well,
already you've built it into yourself.
it's definitely. I'll tell you this. I was playing a Strat, and I'd always played a Strat my whole life. I bought the Firebird. I put it on layaway in '99 when I made the first record, and I had actually made it with a Strat before I bought it. When I bought the guitar, it was so awkward to me. I couldn't get it right on the strap. I had to make myself play. I was like, it was the most I'd ever spent on any guitar,
Mm,
and it was like $1,200 in 1999. I'd never spent that kind of money. You can buy a Strat for 500-600 bucks all day
right.
long.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, and I had to make myself play it for about a month. And it took me that long before I started feeling, the switch is over here. Now when
Yeah,
I
it
play a
is.
Strat, I knock the switch all over the place because I'm not used to playing a Strat anymore. I
Right.
had it down, but now I have to really kind of pay attention when I pick up the Strat. But I just, man, when I got used to it, and I'll tell you what, I didn't. I got rid of it. My buddy, I hawked it, man. I'd lost my mind for a minute in 2000. I hawked it. My buddy went and got it, right? And I
Wow.
forgot, I mean, I knew he had it, and I thought, I kind of thought, well, it's his
Right.
guitar
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Well, I started playing again, and I was playing with Mark May, and he shows up. I go, hey, man, you got my guitar? He goes, you got that money you owe me? I'm like, I got it, and I had it. It was like, I owed him like $1,000. And he had my guitar, and he had my 1961 Bandmaster with the cabinet. I'm like, man, you gonna let me have all of it back? I didn't know. I thought, hey, it's yours now. It's been 20 years anyway.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I gave him the money, I got it back. But I'll tell you what, the minute, and I was on a gig and I put that guitar on, and it was like I was home. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It took me, I've been playing a Strat for a couple of years in Telly when I started playing it. I hadn't even touched a Firebird. The
Yeah.
day I got it back, I put it on that gig, and I never set it down again. And I mean, there wasn't any learning curve. There wasn't, like I said, the first time I got it, it took me 30 days and I was
Yeah.
playing every night, playing. And I was so upset because it was just giving me hell. The neck felt weird. It was too wide, and the neck, it just felt so much different. And
Yeah.
now, the minute I got it back, man, the minute I put it on, I was like, oh, I'm at home. And every other guitar is just second best. It just right then, every guitar I got, I was like, oh, well, this is the best guitar I got. And it's wore out. It needs a fret job, and And of course, I'm still playing it. It needs a new nut. The D string's rattling. I think I was sticking paper under the little E on the nut, and I'm still playing it like that, anyway. But
Well,
I'm going to get it fixed. I'm
you're
going to play my
concerned if
other
you
one
go
for
in
a
and,
couple of weeks.
Yeah, you
We'll
might. If
play.
somebody messes with it, it'll all be different, and you'll be like,
Well, and
"Yeah,
that's
I
the
don't have to
thing.
put a piece of paper under there, but it's not the same now."
That
And I could,
that I put that bassman and the bandmaster in the shop. I got them back, and they never sound the same when I get them
mm,
back. But
mm,
I back in the day, uh I had about 10 basemans. They were, in the 99, 2000. Nobody was playing them. I go out $500 and buy a black-faced bassman with the cabinet. So I was blowing them up. I was running them on 10 and plugging a cord in it, and I'd blow one up. Well, I'd carry two of them with me all the time. I had two of them in the shop all the time, and they'd always sound a little different when you got them back, and but these two I got back to not long ago. I couldn't even play them. I was like, man, they sound terrible.
isn't that
But
sad?
I don't know what happened. I took them. I need to find some other guy to look at them. But anyway,
And that's not easy to find anymore either. People work on
well,
amps.
and I went out and spent some money and bought that Tone Master, and I thought, well, that'll cure everything. And man, I like it, but it's got that grinding kind of Marshall sound to it, which I love. It sounds
Right.
great, but man, I don't know. I just like the deluxe, that Hot Rod Deluxe. I think I got a Hot Rod DeVille in there somewhere with 412s, 410s, and I want to get rid of that. I want a 212 Hot
Yeah.
Rod DeVille. I'd like to have one of them. So I'd have a 60 watt, and man, those amps, they sound good to me, man. And I'm plugging straight in them, man. I love them.
I think it's like you said. What pedals do you? What's a pedal? Here's
I got a
This is
couple
how
of
I keep
guys
in tune. I push the button and it goes tune up, tune down, and that's it. What else do we need?
that.
So when you
Yeah,
released the album, the last album last year, right? When was that you
yeah,
released it?
yeah.
And I noticed do you pick and choose now what you want to do? Are you going to go out on a lot of gigs during the summer? How's that going to work for you? I noticed you're playing there in Humble or someplace. Humble, I think someplace
Yeah,
this
yeah,
month.
yeah.
Next month, I guess April's tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah. Next week, anyway. Yeah. No, there's a couple of hot blues because that's one of them here in Houston that I play all the time,
Hmm.
we're getting out and doing some other different things, and I'm trying to get out there. I'd like to go back to Europe, man, we always did good over there. I think all these guys, the American music, man, they love it over there, and if they're
They
playing
do.
blues or something, they absolutely love it.
Yes,
But
they do.
uh, anyway, yeah,
And I think it's easier for
right
you to go
now,
there. I think it's easier
well,
for you to go to Europe than it is them to come here.
well, I tell you what, it seems that like it's almost easier to go over there, and they love what we're doing over here,
Hmm.
I'm trying to get back out now, then I'm not working or doing anything, but playing guitar, I worked a few jobs in there when I quit, man, I hated it. I hated it. I worked in the plants for a while. I mean, I did some other things. I made money, but I hated it, man.
It's
But
not.
anyway, so
It's not the same.
well, and I'm at an age, man. I can kind of sit back. I'm not broke, so But I mean, I ain't rich either. But I can do whatever I want.
Well, that's it for this episode of the Trout Show. Thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. And I also appreciate the fact that Mr. Hook stopped by to visit with me and talk about his music and all his lifestyle playing rock and blues, which he's a great player, by the way. And if you want to know more information about him, just go to his website, jhooksband.net, jhooksband.net, and you can find out where he's going to be playing. You can check all his music. He just released an album last year, but it's still very popular, and I think it's a great album to listen to. For more information about The Trout Show, just go to my website, thetroutshow.com. You can find everything about me. You can find everything about my music. You can find out all the podcasts and all the YouTube videos I've done. They're all right there. And believe me, we've got some great talent coming up. I already know that. So, get ready for the next episode, people. Remember what I always say at this time. It's important to always remember, it's only rock and roll. But I love it. See ya.